ascertained peasant had a trusty dog called Sultan, who had grown quite old in his service, and had lost all his teeth, so that he could not hold anything fast. One day the peasant stood with his wife at the house door and said, "This morning I shall shoot old Sultan, for he is no longer of any use." His wife, however, compassionating the poor animal, replied, "Well, since he has served us so long and so faithfully, I think we may very well afford him food for the rest of his life." "Oh, what?" replied her husband, "you are not very clever. He has not a tooth in his head, and never a thief is afraid of him, so he must trot off. If he has served us, he has also received his dinner every day." The poor dog, lying stretched out in the sun not far from his master, heard all he said, and was much troubled at learning that the morrow would be his last day. He had one good friend, the wolf in the forest, to whom he slipped at evening, and complained of the sad fate which awaited him. "Be of good courage, my father," said the wolf, "I will help you out of your trouble. I have just thought of something. Early tomorrow morning your master goes haymaking with his wife, and they will take with them their child, because no one will be left in the house. And while they are at work they will put him behind the hedge in the shade, and set you by to watch him. I will then spring out of the wood and steal away the child, and you must run after me hotly as if you were pursuing me. I will let it fall, and you shall take it back to its parents, who will then believe you have saved it, and they will be too thankful to do you any injury. And so you will come into great favor, and they will never let you want again." This plan pleased the dog, and it was carried out exactly as proposed. The father cried out when he saw the wolf running off with the child, but as old Sultan brought it back he was highly pleased, and stroked him, and said, "Not a hair of your head shall be touched. You shall eat your meals in comfort to the end of your days." He then told his wife to go home and cook old Sultan some bread and broth, which would not need biting, and also to bring the pillow out of his bed, that he might give it to him for a resting place. Henceforth old Sultan had as much as he could wish for himself, and soon afterward the wolf visited him and congratulated him on his prosperous circumstances. "But, my father," said he slyly, "you will close your eyes if I by accident steal away a fat sheep from your master." "Reckon not on that," replied the dog, "my master believes me faithful. I dare not give you what you ask." The wolf, however, thought he was not in earnest, and by night came slinking into the yard to fetch away the sheep. But the peasant, to whom the dog had communicated the design of the wolf, caught him and gave him a sound thrashing with the flail. The wolf was obliged to scamper off, but he cried out to the dog, "Wait a bit, you rascal, you shall pay for this." The next morning the wolf sent the boar to challenge the dog, that they might settle their affair in the forest. Old Sultan, however, could find no other second than a cat, who had only 3 legs, and, as they went out together, the poor cat limped along, holding her tail high in the air from pain. The wolf and his second were already on the spot selected, but as they saw their opponent coming, they thought he was bringing a great saber with him, because they saw in front the erect tail of the cat. And, whenever the poor animal hopped on its 3 legs, they thought nothing else than that he was going to take up a great stone to throw at them. Both of them, thereupon, became very nervous, and the boar crept into a heap of dead leaves, and the wolf climbed up a tree. As soon as the dog and cat arrived on the spot, they wondered what had become of their adversary. The wild boar, however, had not quite concealed himself, for the tips of his ears were sticking out. And, while the cat was considering them attentively, the boar twitched one of them, and the cat took it for a mouse, and, making a spring, gave it a good bite. At this the boar shook himself with a great cry, and ran away, calling out, "There sits the guilty one, up in the tree." The dog and the cat looked up and saw the wolf, who was ashamed at himself for being so fearful, and, begging the dog's pardon, entered into treaty with him.